Welcome back to the Nullified Take podcast, where we've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 46, episode 12. My name is Kahuna, and I am joined by the man himself, young master Jake Jebediah. Just said, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing really good. I haven't talked to you or
Full
Chris.
name and everything there.
Yeah, real proper introduction. Thank you.
We-
Haven't talked to you or Chris about Survivor in 3 weeks.
I know it's been a good while. How you feeling about
And
it all?
yeah, so I've been in Hawaii, and I graduated college, and I got engaged to my girlfriend.
Man, look
Yeah,
at Jake!
lots of
Congratulations,
things.
sir.
Thank you.
You
Lots
proposed
of
in
things
Hawaii.
happened. I proposed to her in Hawaii. Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's huge news. Congratulations, dude. I wish we had sound effects and fireworks and all that
Yeah,
sort
we
of
should get some like
thing.
confetti or something.
That's great, man. I'm really happy for you. So the
Thank
new apartment and stuff was all sort of steps in a plan.
that
Graduating
went
as
very
well.
quickly. Yeah, very
That's
quickly.
huge, man.
Yeah.
So what have you graduated with?
I got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering.
Oh man. Mate, this guy's gonna be in the big bucks in electrical engineering. That's great, man. Congratulations. Super happy for you. So everything's coming up, Jake, at the moment. So you got all that, and then missing a couple episodes of the podcast. I know you're not necessarily happy about that, but what a time to come back. Like it's been a good stretch. Like considering the chaotic nature of the first half of the season, we come into the second half of the season and we've seen it really kind of elevate. And that's when Jake's coming in for the good stuff right at the end.
Yeah, and I watched these I watched the last 3 episodes all in like a 2-day span because I didn't watch. I was on vacation. I didn't get to watch. Wild, just wild.
Yeah.
The idol
you
stuff.
missed a lot.
It's wild, man. Yeah, I hope in this podcast I don't repeat anything that you guys have brought up in the past 2 podcasts, because I do want to talk about some things that happened previously, but we'll get there.
I'm sure we'll definitely get into it. Obviously, it's myself and Jake today. Chris is under the weather, not feeling very good at all. I think it's maybe he's just that little bit too devastated that Q's no longer in the game. But he did preempt it well by warning me late last night that he had a pretty killer migraine. He wasn't even able to do the extra take podcast last night. So yeah, Chris won't be joining us today. It's Kahuna, it's Jake, and it's chat, of course. So we want to say a shout out, say good morning, good evening, whatever it is, to Kiwi Skirt. Once again, always joining us. Daryl Seymour pointing it out here, 4th time in a row. It would have been 4th time in a row that Jake didn't join the podcast, but he's here, so I know he's not talking about that. We'll of course cover the idol plays, which is here we go. Kiwiska saying what? Daryl Seymour confirming idol. I mean, we can get it. We can spoil it at the top of the podcast, but 4 episodes in a row where someone has gone home with an idol in their pocket. Now, one of the things that actually we'll continue just saying hello to everyone first. So we've got Kiwiska, got Daryl, we got Georgette. Hello, Georgette. Welcome. Good evening. Scott's here. Hey, Scott, I was praying that Q wouldn't play his idol. Well, man, whichever deity you're praying to, it turns out to be the right one. So I have no idea how any of these people keep going without playing the idol, but we're going to discuss it all. Gabe's here. Imagine Chris is sad. Q going, yeah, that's probably what caused the headache. Nunez. Hey, Kahuna and Jake. What's up, Nunez? Who else we got here? Dolores, as always. Congratulations, Jake. Everyone's super happy for you, Jake. Look at these comments.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Jake. So happy for you both. Double congratulations to Jake. So Nunez just upping the congratulations there. Daryl saying Jake is engaged. Let's go. Congratulations. Look at this awesome chat, man. They're so happy for you.
You guys really are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, welcome everybody. I'm really glad you're here to join us, and a great couple of episodes. But yeah, 4 idols in a row. Now, one of the things that Jeff sort of said about this occurring is he said the reason why so many people have gone home with an idol in their pocket is because, like, we would go, well, that's horrible play, right? He's saying, no, it's such good play from the other players to keep them, like, making them think. And I'm like, that's cope, and he's he's
You
trying
think
to
so?
come. Yeah, like, that's not good play. Like, regardless of however well they played it, man, like, you still got to play that idol, right?
Well, for some of these, it's like very egregious. Like Hunter,
Hunter was,
wow.
yeah.
Like Hunter's was bad. Like that
Hunter's
was
the worst
really
one.
bad. Mm, yeah, probably. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
I think
just because he's
that
old.
well, because everyone knew about it. At least with Venus and Q, they didn't even know. No one even knew they had it except for Maria with Q. But with Venus, Venus is probably the least egregious, just because like her name was thrown out like every round. So it's like, who knows when it's actually real? You know, like when
Yeah.
the plan really is her. But I think the main factor behind this is, and this is not like a new idea. I've seen other people say this as well, is that I think people get hung up on like the wow moment at like Final Tribal if like they pull out an idol that was never played. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I never had to play this. And like they think that like that's what will win them the game. It's not like, and they're too terrified to play it wrong. And that's just, I think we're going to see a shift in the next couple seasons where it's going to completely flip, because people are going to see this and be like, if I get an idol, I'm playing it, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm going to not be afraid that it's like, oh, you played it when you didn't have to. I think that's going to go away because of
Well, I
this.
mean, yeah, like it's not a great feeling, I would think, to incorrectly play it when you didn't have to, when you could have had it in your pocket and needed it. And then if you go home the next episode or something, like that'll be burning in your brain forever.
Mhm.
But surely going home with it in your pocket is way worse. But I guess the only saving grace for these players is that they're not alone. Like four of them in a row. Like
Yeah,
it's not
they got
like
their own
you
little.
were
They
the
got a
sole
club.
person this season.
Well, and it's not just those four this season. It's been four in a row. It's five total because there was
Yeah.
Gem. Like five
And
in one
also,
season.
I know he doesn't count, but Randon had an idol in his pocket when he went home.
He did. He did.
Six, technically.
Yeah.
In
But
one
this,
season, man.
yeah, and we'll get into why, but I also think not quite as bad as Hunters, but I think this no play by Q was pretty bad as well. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. So, do you think what would look worse is going at home with an idol in your pocket, not playing the idol when correctly, but you like playing the idol but not playing it correctly, or straight up just accidentally writing the completely wrong name down? Because this is what we start this episode with: is Kenzie sort of like Ben actually owning up and saying to Kenzie, "Yep, I wrote your name down completely by accident." Like, are you buying the accident? Like, it depends on who it comes from, right? With Ben, I kind of feel like, yeah, I buy it.
It's
That
so
did not
like
rock, man.
I'm gonna be honest, like when he first said it, I was like, that's a lie. He's just
Yeah.
lying to her. But then he said it in his confessional, and I was like, why he wouldn't? I don't know why he'd be lying to us now. You know, if anything, if he were lying, it would be the opposite. He would lie that it was actually purposeful when it wasn't. You know,
Hmm.
so it would be this is weird. This is crazy, and I think if it is true and that like it's because he hasn't been sleeping and eating, like, hey Jeff, maybe we should give him a little more food because that's bad. That's
I
bad.
I do think it's pretty funny that, like, considering Jeff was literally saying that the reason why so many people are going home with idols in the pocket is because of the superior gameplay from the rest of them, and then immediately the first thing it cuts to, and this is Ben going, "Yeah, I wrote the wrong name down, man." Like, I don't
Yeah, I
like
know.
those two don't really. Jeff's just like coping so hard to try to justify the horrible gameplay in this season. But yeah, Ben, like I believe it as well. I wasn't sure at first, but then I was like, yeah, because what possible reason did he have for being the sole vote for Kenzie? Like, unless it was protecting against an idle play or something like that, and having that extra vote there. I don't know, but
But
it was so. Sorry.
even then that would be weird because he's shown to actually have like kind of a relationship with Kenzie.
Yeah,
So, and we see it again
we see it right
later
here.
in
That like
this. So,
immediately, yeah.
and it's like it's not just like a personal relationship. It's like they've worked together on quite a few votes. So I weird, but you know who is claiming that Ben is lying or that what he's saying is not true is Q. In his exit interviews, he is saying that both Q and Ben were supposed to vote for Kenzie, but Q didn't vote for Kenzie for some reason. But then Ben still went along with the plan. I'm sorry. I don't. It's almost like when Q says something, I believe it even less. So I think
It
that
adds
that's not.
credibility to Ben.
Yeah, I think that adds more credibility to Ben that it was just an accident.
Like, I mean, like I said, it would make sense that if you're trying to protect against an idle play, but yeah, Ben would definitely at least own it to the cameras. And like you said, if he didn't do it, he should be owning it to the cameras. We didn't see
Or
anything from Q about it.
right, yeah. Or we would be seeing him like speaking up now, like on Twitter or something. But I haven't
Yeah.
actually seen if he's commented on it at all. Um, weird moment, and Kenzie is just like as perplexed as all of us just hearing that. Like, what?
Yeah, that was a moment. But you mentioned that Kenzie, despite Ben throwing a vote at her accidentally or on purpose, we'll never really know with this really strange cast. But Kenzie, despite that, and obviously copying her first vote would be an impact. We've seen people spiral when they get their first vote, but Kenzie, in the middle of the night when Ben has his night terrors, and as you said, like maybe that suggests that they're not feeding them enough, or the conditions are worse than what we really expect. But he's having these night terrors that are not only um, occurring more frequently, but they're escalating in duration. It's getting worse for Ben out there, which does not rock. It really doesn't shred. But Kenzie putting it all aside and really being a comfort, showing perhaps her strength in the game. We've said from the start is social, right? She's I don't know if this is the mermaid side or the drag. This is the mermaid side, not the dragon side. We haven't seen too much of the dragon tail yet, just the mermaid top. Um,
Which is just a human.
yeah, just human. It's just human. So Kenzie really solidifying and being a person, putting the game aside for Ben. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that if Kenzie is to win, it would be because she put the game aside and played the human aspect and was a human, not played the human aspect, was a human instead of a mermaid, by helping Ben through this and really showing that her strength is her social game, is connecting with people, because she hasn't been, maybe it's because she doesn't have her resume, which she has been going on about wanting to build as well, except for, I guess, turning on Tiff as her closest ally. Like, that's meant to be a big resume push, but why that is the thing that they all think they have to do, I don't understand why that's the thought process there. But it's an interesting sort of dilemma where she's not got the runs on the board That's a cricket reference. She hasn't got like the resume. No one got the cricket, except maybe Kiwi Skirt. Um, she hasn't got the resume, but despite that, her social game and actually connecting with people might be the thing that kind of gets her over the line. Is that a path for someone like Kenzie to win this game when we've got the clear standouts in Maria and Charlie?
Yeah. So first of all, I think really the only person with a resume at this point is Maria. Like, can Charlie really say that this Q vote was his? I don't think you can. I think it was a very unanimous thing. Maria, with the Tiffany vote, it was all like, yeah, a lot of people were like hankering to do it, but Maria was like, no, 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 we're doing it now. Like,
Hmm.
no more scaredy cat. Like, will she, won't she play the idol? We're doing it. We're voting for Tiffany and we're getting her out or we're flushing the idol. Whereas with Q, like you see like at camp, like the right when everybody gets back to camp from the challenge, everybody immediately like Kenzie turns to Ben, I think, and does this. She's like, so it's Q. Like she's trying to make the Q letter with her fingers. Like I don't think you can
He
say
was
that
like, if
Charlie.
it just went a little bit further, and she just went
Yeah, and it's like they
like,
can't
oh.
show that on TV. They can't show that on CBS.
Um,
but but like I think that so what I'm saying is like when you talk about resume, if she goes with Charlie and anyone else actually, basically as long as she's not there with Maria, like she's on an even playing field, really.
yeah,
The only thing that with Charlie's been on the right side of the votes every time, whereas Kenzie has been on the wrong side once. But when we talk about resume, really the only person that is threatening that with Kenzie is Maria.
yeah.
And we can get into this either now or later, but honestly, I think that there's a big chance Maria makes the end but loses because of a lack of social game. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
are not happy with her. Liz,
I mean,
particularly,
yeah, you missed last week's episode. Like that was the big one
was it?
where she, yeah, no, well, when we did talk about how, like you mentioned at the start that you've got thoughts on the previous episodes because we haven't had you for a couple of weeks. But as
Yeah.
far as Maria turning into the villain, as far as people not really liking her out there, obviously Venus had a little bit of venom towards her, but the choice that she made last week really didn't sit well with a lot of people. And we saw that in the previously on, and some of the repercussions of that. That
Mhm.
could be, like you said, like if Maria gets to the final, does she actually win out based on the relationship side? Because someone mentioned here before, I think it was Nunez. There's a lot of comments, guys. Thank you so much. I'm trying to keep them. I'm trying to come back to them, but there's so much good content here. Someone mentioned that maybe more than any time I can remember, this cast specifically is so emotional. Like we've had breakdowns and crying and everything, like practically every single episode, like Liz's tantrums. But this week we saw Maria even multiple times at the start when she was sort of I really didn't like how like Maria. I know it was genuine because like she was kind of doing it on her own, wasn't looking for the attention, but she was really taken aback by the fact that Venus didn't like her and cast aspersions on her about her choice of Q and stuff like that, and that hit her pretty hard. But considering that she is the biggest threat in the game, she's showing all this emotion. We've seen Ben have breakdowns. We've seen Liz have breakdowns. Um, Emotions tending to rule the way people are voting this season when
Mhm.
you've got a very emotional sort of cast or jury rather. There is a chance that I didn't think about it before. I thought if Maria gets to the end she wins, but then when you consider the personalities that are there and how they think and how they vote and how they sort of react to things, it could be like they vote based on the fact that they like Kenzie more. And you've said before that that's a lot of the times how people vote. I like this person better. I'm not giving this other person $1 million because I
I'm
like
gonna
this.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Kenzie gets to the end against Maria with, let's say, Ben, she's got 3 jury votes guaranteed. Uh,
Hmm.
Liz, Venus, and Tiffany.
Hmm.
Guaranteed. Liz and Venus do not like Maria, and Tiffany was Kenzie's closest ally that whole game. And I would
Yep.
be very shocked if she didn't vote for her. She only needs one more, and Ben might break the tie for Kenzie.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
could see
know,
that. Imagine
or
having a tiebreaker final thing. That's huge. You know, what's another factor that I didn't necessarily think of?
what's that?
Q being Maria's biggest advocate is a massive negative for Maria now that he's at Ponderosa, that he's on the jury. He's gonna come in like, all right, everybody, we're gonna vote for Maria. Maria's the vote. We're gonna do Maria, and everyone's like, well, now I'm definitely not
Yeah.
voting
Oh
for
my
Maria.
gosh, that's so funny.
He's
Um,
trying to influence them and stuff.
yeah, and I have seen some comments saying on Reddit and stuff, and this was after I didn't read Reddit about this episode, but it was after I watched the last one. I went back and looked at the post episode discussion on Reddit, and they were all talking about how in Exit Press, um, Hunter and Tevin both did not have very good impressions of Maria. They gave some, I don't remember exactly what they said, but
Right.
they didn't have very, very positive things to say about Maria. And so I don't know, but we might be getting a bit too ahead of ourselves. I don't know. But all I'll say is that I think Maria can lose at the end. I think that's definitely possible.
What we'll do, we'll go through, and then at the end, we'll have a look at the final five and what we think the chances are, etc. Because we are in the penultimate episode now, so like obviously, I feel like overall it has been a little bit of like chess and checkers, or like adults playing against kids, and Maria and Charlie, and to a certain extent, like socially, but not really strategically. Kenzie seems to be a competent player as well. She knows what she's doing out there, whereas the others are just sort of chickens running around with their heads cut off. Um, and I've always just instinctively, because I would reward that. I don't like when there's not good gameplay, right? So I've continually thought Maria has Charlie can win, because even though I don't think the people out there see him in the same way, we see it because he's got the confessionals and he's doing everything under the radar. And if he can spin that into a really good final tribal speech, then and make it believable, then there's a chance there. But yeah, so we start off the episode after the Ben and Kenzie sort of thing. Maria has her emotional fallout. Then we get emotional outbursts in the other direction. How big was it? Actually, that's the wrong phrase to ask how big was it, because I am, of course, talking about Liz's big announcement. Um, happily saying that she took her first shit for the entire show. Like,
Honestly, good for her. Seriously, like that is I can't even imagine 3 weeks. Like what? Like that's terrible. Like for your body. Like thank God that it finally happened. Like that's so bad. I really am shocked that like hasn't she hasn't been like removed or like taken herself out of the game at this point. Like she's just been struggling out
yeah, I
there.
think the
And
doctors are on strike or something. Like, what the
right.
hell? 3
And
weeks?
yeah, and I mean, we don't have to retread, but I didn't get to be on the podcast with you guys with the whole Applebee's fiasco. Um, Good for her that she finally got to go on her reward, because the last two not getting picked, like just how?
Imagine if they just did it again. So if Charlie was like, no.
Can I be real? Like I don't know about you and Chris with the whole rock paper scissors that Maria did. I'm gonna be honest, like that kind of ticked me off too. It
Yeah,
did.
absolutely.
Because because I'm seeing a lot of people on social media being like, "You guys need to calm down. It really wasn't that big of a deal." Like, but I'm just like, don't like when Venus said like you put on this act and it was a farce that you were claiming that you were gonna give it to the most malnourished person, and then you put it between the most malnourished person and Q who just
Yeah,
ate. It's
and
a
he's like the
farce.
biggest dude there.
Biggest dude there. Like, let's be
Yeah,
real. Like, Maria, like, I'm sorry that you got called out, but like, she was right. Like, I don't know. I just wasn't sure what you or Chris thought about it, but that's my view. I think, personally, would that be a reason why I don't vote for Maria at the end? Probably not, unless I'm Liz in that scenario. But like, if I'm like Venus or something, I don't know. But like, I'm just saying,
it be,
guys, like, maybe don't be surprised if people are not happy with Maria at the
we're
end.
turning. We're like the rest of the tribe as well, turning on Maria now. Like from Golden Girl to like,
Yeah,
oh,
well, listen, I'll say she's been playing a great game. Like,
yeah.
seriously, props to her on that Tiffany move. Like, really well done. But um, yeah, I was not particularly pleased by what she pulled last episode.
I like how Harold said Liz finally did number two. Everyone's happy for Liz apparently. Billionaire Liz finally did it. Look, there are just some things you can't pay for, right? Money doesn't buy everything.
Yeah.
And Georgette bringing science to it, nothing in, nothing
Mhm.
out.
I
Yep.
mean, yeah. How can
By the
anything come
way,
in?
we'll talk about it now actually, because we obviously have the reward challenge. And Charlie takes out the reward challenge. We don't need to go too much into the actual challenge itself. It's pretty straightforward. We've seen it, that type of thing a million
Mhm.
times over. But it comes to Charlie's decision, and the reward that Jeff kind of springs on them is not only that is it Chinese food, but it's also letters from home. Um, I just want to say, like, obviously Charlie picking Liz, I think was always going to happen if Charlie have ever had the opportunity, especially after last week and the Applebee's and all that sort of thing. Like, she was always going to go. But what I'm really curious about, by the way, when Georgette said nothing in, nothing out, Liz is like, I'm allergic to chicken. I'm allergic to eggs. I'm allergic to everything. I'm not allergic to Chinese food. The generic overall category. Can't eat coconut, but all Chinese food is okay. Like, what is that?
Surprised me for sure. I know she can eat meat for sure. Um,
Yeah, but like,
but yeah,
surely, like,
I,
if
I
you're
mean,
that allergic, there's other stuff on it, right?
yeah. Well, I mean,
Like
yeah.
what?
There's probably. I mean, they use eggs in a lot of Chinese
Noodles, like
things. Yeah, I think like they had like chow mein. Is that not like? Are those not egg
yeah, it's like
noodles?
egg noodles. Like
I
that's what
mean,
it is.
I might be wrong about that, but yeah, it's very surprising. But regardless, good for her. She finally ate. I mean, I just can't imagine. Like, seriously, props to her for making it this far. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean,
I couldn't do
look,
it. I really couldn't. Like, just the other day,
I definitely
when I
couldn't.
was,
I get like three-quarters through the day, I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Should I,
yeah,
should I go to
I
the
was
hospital?
when I was flying home. I didn't eat enough before getting on the plane, and I'm not a happy camper the rest of the day, and that slightly worries me about going on Survivor. I feel like I'd get really really pissy at people like, don't come near me, go away. Like, I am starving, just leave me alone. You know, um, I think I probably would be able to handle it. Just like mentally, just like control yourself, Master Jake. But
You know what's funny
seriously,
though is
like,
that you're at that point being hungry, after getting engaged, being in Hawaii, all this stuff. You're not out on an island, like getting, or you were on an island, but not like Survivor, getting, starving. mentally draining, thinking strategy, going through challenges, all that sort of stuff, on top of all of that, while still not being able to take a shit as well. Like, like, considering how agitated people get when they're hangry,
Mhm.
like this one it's turned up to 11, right?
Definitely. It's
At
crazy.
least Ben would say it turns up to 11 for sure. It was
Spinal Tap, for sure. Yeah.
so they. Oh, here we go. So we're getting clarification from Zara. They do have gluten-free noodles, I found out. I love Maria and Charlie, but I wonder if the Malcolm and Denise edit means Maria goes next because Charlie gets her out.
So Charlie's Denise.
Yeah, I guess so.
Denise got Malcolm out. But
YouTube Bearcat saying it's just a long intermittent fast. That's all. Yeah, it's 3 weeks. Intermittent fasting. Danica is here. I think it was an easy set decision for him. He had the pre-arrange with Maria as far as the reward choice. Yeah, and I do appreciate, despite Maria obviously just taking it again, super emotional, having that fallout for the letter from the kids. But I do appreciate that, like he said, I get it. Like we had the prearrange. It's not against Charlie, but it broke me. Like I just want to see the letter from my family. Um, look, I'm a parent of 3, and first of all, I would never go on a Survivor because of many reasons. But even if I could, like physically, and I was capable, and I wouldn't leave my kids for that. I don't, or maybe I would. I don't know. But it would be really difficult. I know my wife would never ever leave the kids for a show like that kind of thing. But if you're out there and if you've committed, like she's literally 4 days away. Like she's gonna FaceTime them with $1 million in 4 days. Like calm down. I'm a dad. I love my kids immensely, and I get it. It would be incredibly emotional. When I've gone away for like a weekend, I've cried calling my kids on FaceTime and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but also like you're so close. Like it's right there. Like you need to be able to let that go, especially with the way, like she turned it into a positive, but the way she sort of let it hit her at the start and let the other people know as well how it was hitting her. That could have been dangerous for her. Like if it didn't turn the other way and she used it as a motivator, if she really did let her get it down. Because at one point she said, I'm broken. Like I can't, like, you know, it could have been really bad. And that's when I was like, you're so close. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Although,
mean, was it that caused her to not tell Q to play his idol? No, probably wasn't. But
yeah.
I agree. I agree that like it could have been bad. I mean, people, you can spiral in Survivor. Let's say that when things happen, and I think that's something that could definitely cause a spiral like that. When you're looking forward to something so much and it's so close, and it's your closest ally up there who gets to choose who goes, and he doesn't pick you, even though you respect it and you understand the reasoning, doesn't make it any less difficult. Yeah, I empathize with her a lot during this. I get it. It's just, even though it's only 4 days away, like that would push you. That would be the fuel that could get you to the end. Just hearing from them, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be the big motivator as well. And
I mean, we see that with Kenzie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like, so actually, I just want to go quickly here. There's some dissenting opinion anyway, because YouTube Bearcat said Maria handled that situation very well. And then Danica says, for $1 million, I could absolutely go the month without seeing my family. Like, are you one of those people? Like, my wife would be like, can I pay $1 million to go a month without seeing my family? Of course, the chores I'd have to do when I got home to clean up the mess, I better win so I can hire a maid. Yeah, that's a good one. the other day was Mother's Day, of course,
Mhm.
and I made sure like I I did all the dishes, I cleaned up. My wife didn't have to worry about making lunch for the kids or dinner or anything. I did all of it,
Good.
and at the end, I was like, "Thank God, Mother's Day is only once a year." Um, if my, if my wife went on a month, she'd come back to us just like Chris Pratt in Jurassic World.
Mhm.
That's me with the Velociraptors. Hold like just me and three
How many
kids.
how
Like
many
I'm
kids
like
do you have? 3?
three. I got three. We're completely outnumbered. So So YouTube Bearcat said Maria handled well. Kiwiska, I don't think she handled it as well. Handled it well at all. She acted as if it was life and death. That's what I'm saying. Like it's close, man. You're so close. You gotta.
You know, yeah.
But
I think
again,
that
we're not out there. We're not
I
out
think
there.
YouTube Bearcat then responds and says, Maria didn't have a screaming fit. She didn't moan all day about it to her tribe mates. I'm assuming that's contrasting it to Liz.
Mm.
But I think a lot of things look well when pitted up against how Liz reacted to not getting Applebee's.
In comparison,
In comparison, I think it's, yeah, but yeah. Then YouTube Aircat says Maria didn't do a Liz. Big difference. It is a
yeah.
big difference, but you know,
Well, YouTube Kale says if you're on Survivor, you need to suck it up. I hate the family letters and family visits. I think they are dumb. You are there for $1 million. You're doing it for your family. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I
Daryl with an
think
interesting point on that, though. Look, I'm telling you guys right now, Maria would not have gone for Charlie if he took her on the reward.
hmm,
So maybe
I
it
don't
influenced Maria a
know.
lot more than we think. Like maybe that's what sort of she was like, you know, fine, I'll turn on him.
I
There you
don't
go.
know if I don't know
Danica
if I
confirmed,
believe
yes,
that.
I'll pay you so I can have the month off. That's fine.
I don't know if I buy that that she wouldn't have targeted Charlie if he took her. I don't know. There's no concrete evidence to back that up. I just don't know if I buy that. I think Maria is more, even though she definitely showed some emotion today. I think she's more strategical thinking. She wouldn't base just off that.
Look at these two very different sort of angles to it. So this is what you said before. Maria didn't have a screaming fit. Maria didn't moan all day about it to her tribe mates. Maria went off by herself. Um, and then Kiwi's said she cried about it in front of everyone at camp. When we say everyone at camp, it was Q and Ben, right?
Yeah.
Or do you mean the original outburst about Venus? It was about the reward challenge and missing out. And it was only Q and Ben.
Hmm.
And I think she's got Q. And I think being original Seeger, she's probably pretty comfortable in front of Ben as well.
I mean, Ben is like the most emotional guy out there. You
Yeah,
know.
he's not going to hold it
So
against her, I don't think. So Gabe says Maria did it the right way by saying it on confessional. And Key was saying Liz got over it by screaming. Maria moped and cried about it for hours
I mean,
afterward.
Maria did cry like as it was happening as well, like when they were all lined up and Charlie was picking. But yeah,
Danica said, my two are 20 months apart, so I can relate. Two in car seats at the same time, very difficult. They're in college now, but I still miss the juggling of when they were very little. Yeah, my daughter is 8, turning 9. So she's just come out of car seats. In Australia, it's like the legal requirement is 8 years old, or when it's like they come up to a certain shoulder height. Like if they're massive kids, like you can't shove them into a car seat.
mhm.
But yeah, we've had 3 car seats, and we've had to buy bigger cars specifically to fit them all. I get that it's hard. So he's I like the YouTube Bearcat and Kiwi Skirt going at each other. So one's better
Maybe
than the other. She knows Charlie is a competition. She would have voted him out regardless. Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
maybe like it's got to. I don't know if it plays a part, if it's even just 1%, 2%, whatever the percentage is, but having that big emotional hit, it's got to be big. Like there's a part of it there somewhere. But yeah, so Charlie chooses Liz, chooses Kenzie, and we see Kenzie sort of very, very emotionally respond to that. We know Liz, obviously after last week's disappointment and stuff, she gets her reward. So that's solidifying Charlie with them two even more. You mentioned before that Charlie, can he even claim this move? Does he have the resume? Is making this choice, getting them there to talk away from Maria, away from Q, and solidifying that even more, is that a move that he can, like, was that part of his, that's gameplay. That's bringing the right people together in the right circumstance to be able to solidify the plan even more?
Yeah, I just think that it's not as significant. I guess I would say, um, as Maria coming in being like, "I got Tiffany out." That hits 10 times harder than Charlie coming in saying, "I got Q out." You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so, but I agree with what you're saying. He put in work. You know,
He is. It's just the work that no one's seeing, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because that's the problem, I think, with his plan. His approach is keep options open. And we see it later sort of play out where he doesn't even want to fully cut off Maria and commit to that fully either. He's like, hedging his
He
bets
tells
there as
her,
well.
tells her they're voting for Q.
Yeah, yeah. But like, it'll come up in tribal council. We'll talk about it later. But as far as when you say resume, Kenzie has a thing at final tribal, not final tribal, at tribal council where she talks about them being a big dysfunctional family. Um, do you remember what Monica Charlie was given, what family member Charlie was sort of dubbed?
The dog.
The dog, the family dog. Lovable for sure. But is that disrespect to Charlie? Is that like, again, his moves are not being noticed or picked up at all? He's flying too far under the radar to be given any credit.
I totally get what you're saying, and I don't think that that's. I think that's meaningful,
Yep.
definitely. But can I remind you? Did you watched 42, right? Did you watch 42? Survivor 42?
42 is the one I skipped.
Okay, so then I guess I'm going to spoil it for you right now.
Marianne, right?
Marianne. Marianne wins, and at final 7, I think, Drea gets voted out, and she like says something individually about everyone, and like she says to Mike, like, big respect for getting me out. Like she says like something pretty meaningful about everyone. Then she gets to Marianne, just says, "Keep doing you." And to me, like when I watched that for the first time, I was like, "Oh, like they're not thinking of Marianne as a player. Like they don't really like respect how she's playing. At least Drea. Um, Drea happily votes for Marianne um, at the end, so it's not a death sentence, but
Right.
does it sort of, because Marianne did um, win over a lot of people at Final Tribal Council, so
Yeah.
maybe it's not a very good comparison, but
You do you.
Charlie maybe needs to figure that out, but it's not a death sentence. It's not over.
So part of that reward challenge discussion, which Charlie is sort of engineering, at least really driving the conversation, because I think Liz was just happy to eat and Kenzie was overwhelmed with her letter from fiance. By the way, as well, I'm married. I love my wife very much. You're engaged now. Would you delay your wedding, your upcoming nuptials, whenever that may be, if you got the call?
Yes.
Yeah. like,
All right. Like,
uh,
and my fiance knows that, and she would be sad at first, but she would understand because this is just a dream, you know, and we would just we would work through it. But I
I
would,
mean,
unfortunately, yeah.
they're not going in. Hopefully, if it's real enough to get married, they're not going anywhere because you have to delay it a few months or a few weeks or a year, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. I mean, maybe she could even go to the end and say, like, guys, like, you don't understand. We've got all these bookings that we could not get out of. I've got deposits all over the place. I'm
Please.
like,
I
I'm
need
50 grand in the
financial
hole
help, please. Yeah.
now. We've
Husband.
essentially paying for 2 weddings now. I
Yeah.
need I need this. She's got that in a final tribal.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah. So then we see coming out of the reward challenge, they're hunting for an idol. But did they know that Venus had one and went home with one?
Say that again?
Did they know that Venus had an idol and went home with an idol to
No.
be out there hunting again for it? Or is it Q? Actually, no, because Q said in the confessional, I've been hunting for days, hours on days, days and days and days. Um, so maybe he just found it as part of his regular idol hunting routine, or were they more suspicious that there might actually be one at this point?
I think that they did not know that Venus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because yeah, not everyone else was looking for
They
one,
just
like
like
knowing that one's
they
back
just
in the
thought nobody
game.
found it, and that they're just
Right.
like, yep, just keep searching. I mean, crazy. I think idols are getting harder to find. Like
I
in
don't think
40,
Q's one was.
I mean, he said he was searching for days.
Yeah, but it was only 1 day since it got put back in.
That's fair. But maybe they made him a little bit easier since 41, but 41, nobody even found an idol after the merge.
Right.
And
Did it, was,
42, only Marianne found one after
yeah.
the merge. So 43, I don't even know if anyone did. Jesse find it? I can't remember, but I just feel like this season there's just like I don't like it's just like people are talking about how hard it is, and I feel like it just would like people would just find more. I don't know. I guess this season, since so many people are getting voted out with idols, there's more.
Right,
But
we got to put it back out.
yeah, we got to put it back out there. But
Make it easy to find. We want someone to play an idol, like properly. Just not even properly, just play it. We want someone to play an idol.
You know who's the only person to play an idol this season? It was Jess, and it wasn't even real.
The Jess curse followed on. But yeah, Q finds an idol. He says he'd consider using it for Maria. Tells Maria, and she's like, "Sweet, like yeah, absolutely. If you know, use it for me. That's great." And maybe that's why Maria didn't tell him to use it, because she thought she had another shot at it, like at 5. Sorry, if Q would actually genuinely use it for her. So we've got Q with an idol now, and then we go into immunity challenge. And after the discussion at reward challenge, it's essentially Maria's the vote if she doesn't win, and if she doesn't win, Q's the vote, right? And then Q has an idol, and I'm like, oh, like this is looking juicy. And I don't know if it's ever happened before, but it was beautiful as far as this episode goes to have it align where the two biggest threats in the game that are also the closest alliance members in the game turn on each other at the exact same time, trying to not, like, you know what I mean, like, so the other one doesn't. A lot of the times people will turn on each other, but they don't usually time it this way. Jeff must have been salivating at the fact that both Charlie and Maria see the writing on the wall, but they see it at the exact same time. I was sitting there going into the immunity challenge going, please don't let either one of these two win the idol, like win immunity. I want to see how it actually plays out.
Damn Maria, just can't.
Yeah, Maria, like she was flying through at the start as well. It wasn't just the puzzle. Like obviously she destroyed the puzzle, but she was going really well at the start as well. She flew across the balance beam like it wasn't even a thing. Got to the puzzle of the dolphin. You know what happened? You know what happened with me? This is how undiagnosed ADHD I am sometimes. I know at the start Jeff said something about dolphins, and Liz even made a dolphin sound and stuff. But when Maria was doing the puzzle, I was like, "Oh my god, are they doing a mermaid?" It's the
It's not.
tail.
No, they're not doing. They're not doing Puzzle of Kenzie. Going.
When I saw the tail like getting built, yeah, it's a man. Oh no, it's a dolphin. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like again, Maria now three in a row.
I
Like
don't think 3 in a row. I think it's just 2 in a row, but three
three immunity.
total.
Yeah,
Yeah,
three total.
yeah.
Like,
I think Charlie won one in between. I think.
would anyone have picked Maria as the challenge beast of the season?
No way. No way.
Man,
Especially over
like she.
Hunter. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, she beat Hunter in one of them, wasn't it? When Hunter went home, was it because Maria had it, or
no, it was
Hunter
because
obviously did
Charlie. It was because Charlie beat him.
it? Okay, but
Yeah.
yeah, three is a huge effort. So
Yeah.
Maria winning a third, ensuring safety, and then the focus, unfortunately, against all poetry and beautiful story that it could have been, switches the focus from Maria to Q. So then back at camp, Q and Maria in this whole thing of trying to flip it on Charlie. Q approaches Liz and Kenzie, who like literally Liz last week said how much she hates Q. They've been trying to get out Q for like forever. They're just not a fan of this person at all. And he's like, "We're gonna vote for Charlie," and they're like, "Yeah, okay." Like, what they played that well though, like to just accept it and like have him believe. But with zero groundwork, bad relationship, the whole thing, Q in like 30 seconds is like, "We're gonna vote for Charlie," um, and then walked off. Like, okay, good,
So
done.
this is why I was saying that I think Q's is the second most egregious no play of all of these. And honestly, this reflects on Maria as well for not thinking like this. So Charlie's obviously not voting for Charlie because he's Charlie. Uh,
Yep.
let's see, Liz. Why would Liz vote for Charlie over Q when she hates his guts? I guess a couple rounds ago she did it. She voted with Q, but it's just like don't be so confident on that. Like you can't count on that vote, you know? Kenzie as well.
Yeah,
She doesn't like Q. Like she wants him out. She's been wanting him out, you know? Like that's three already. Like that are probably not voting with you guys, you know? And I'm just like, hey, like, how did you not think like that? I mean, unless they were just that convincing, you know, but it didn't really seem like that was the factor as big of as a factor as it would have been. You know what I mean? Like, I just the numbers just didn't make sense for him to not play it. It just didn't make sense.
yeah, but also like the audacity, which I guess is Q, like that's Q to a T to say the audacity, like to just assume after the relationship he's had with these people, Kenzie flat out said to his face multiple times, "We are not working together." Like she said it to his face. They've had almost fights at tribal council. Liz screamed in frustration at this man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for Maria to go, "Yeah, you go have the talk." Like I know Maria might not be their favorite person at the moment either because she made the decision. But surely she's got a little bit more tact to be able to get these votes on side than Q does. Like sending Q to do that talk and get these people on side is almost like big mistake. Like
Yeah,
to
like,
use Q for that purpose, and for Q to just assume again, like that's the way he's played the whole thing, right? He's like, "Ready, team, here's the plan, go, hands in." It's Coach Q, like thinking once he says it, it's gospel. Like it's in stone. Like he said it, they agreed, so it must be they're on my side. Like
uh,
again, the audacity, the not reading a room or understanding where you sit, like with these people and understanding that dynamic when he just must assume the gameplay or the strategy supersedes all of it.
Yeah, I think that, unless they left it out, there was no like sit down with either Maria or Q with Liz to be like, hey, I know that you are not happy with me, but
Yeah,
I think that it will be best for both of our games if we take out Charlie right now.
yeah.
That never
I
happened.
mean,
As far as we, the viewer, know, that
it was like 30
conversation
seconds
never
max.
happened. Yep. And it's like, oh well, clearly Liz is voting with us. I think Maria says like you should only be getting one vote tonight, which would obviously be Charlie. Like you just
Again,
can't count like
she
that.
just
Like just
assumed that it was locked in as well.
yeah.
Like
And
that's
does
the
that
biggest
show?
oversight for me.
And
Whereas we contrast that. Yep.
does that also show that Maria underestimates Charlie as a player? That like maybe she's thinking like he probably wasn't able to gather anybody together, or like people probably don't want to work with him. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
but
Well, I mean, what we're seeing, you contrast a 30-second discussion or a 30-second instruction to Kenzie and Liz on how to vote for Charlie. You put that up against Charlie literally taking them to reward, having like deep conversations with reward letters. Kenzie saying, I'm never gonna forget this for the rest of my life, Charlie. Like, and then you put that, it goes straight to Q going, vote for Charlie. Like that's the plan. Go. Like it's just night and day next to each other as far as how to approach people. Like the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. Neither
mhm.
Maria or Q have read that clearly. I don't think anyone's read it in 30 years. It was probably before you were born, Jake. But
I've heard of it. You know how I've heard about it from Survivor because who was it? Someone I think said that Cass needs to read that book
mm,
on Cagayan. I think maybe it was Trish. Trish was like, "Hey,
yeah,
I think this book would be useful to you. You should read it."
I
um,
do like that. Liz and Kenzie with someone approaching them that way. I think it's pretty good of them to bite their tongue and actually play along and say, yeah, we'll vote for Q. As soon as he walks off, they're like, we're not voting for Charlie. There's no freaking way. But Liz has shown she can, at least to the person presenting it to her, play along pretty well to the point where they're convinced, right? Especially with an idol in his pocket. Like he obviously bought that they were on board. Maria bought that they were on board somehow. I have no idea how she even thought, well, if Q locked it in, we must be good. We're solid
yeah,
with Liz and Kenzie. Like it's just interesting that they were so confident in that in the vote for Charlie. Like it's almost negligent for me to
yeah.
go
That's what I'm
like, you know what I
saying.
mean?
Like that's why I think it's really very egregious. This for him not to play. I mean, there's only one more chance to play it. Like after this, like just be safe, man. Like especially for Maria. Like Maria, like you need this guy. Like
Yeah.
unless you keep winning immunity, you need this guy.
Well, what do you think of like how at that point, like the votes between Q and Charlie, Maria and Q think they've got Charlie. I feel like the lines are drawn at that point. But why? How do you think of Charlie? His strategy being, I'm keeping all my options open, and he goes to Ben and says, maybe we should bring Maria in on the Q vote in
Bad.
case we don't want to alienate Maria. Like we need Maria on the
Yeah, it's
side.
bad.
Like, yeah,
Bad. Yeah, it's
like what?
bad because she knows. I mean, obviously Charlie doesn't know this, but Maria knows he has the idol. Like if she's brought into a conversation like with
It could have
Ben
backfired in the biggest possible way.
so badly, like Charlie goes home. He goes home
But
in that
even the
scenario.
motivation, like the idea of it, do you
And it's
think
like
Charlie
because
should have?
you're and it's like, well, but Charlie, why does it matter if you burn the bridge right now? You're at the final
Yeah, like at
six.
this point, final six going to final
If these
five.
people if all these people want to vote out Maria and are settling for Q because Maria's immune, then why do you
She's
care
next.
if you burn the bridge with Maria? I
Yeah.
don't get it. I don't really get the logic behind that.
So there's no necessary, like, not really. I guess the only positive you can think of is, like he sort of said to Ben, if she wins out, if she wins another immunity, then she might more likely vote for Liz and Kenzie to go out than, but still don't have the number. You know what I mean? Like,
But
what's the benefit of keeping Maria
but
on
then
side that much?
but then I don't think it really matters at that
It
point,
doesn't,
honestly. Like,
especially after the vote actually happens, right? If he's successful and Q goes home, which he did,
uh,
Maria knows at that point, right? Like what? There's no keeping her inside because the vote was written
she's not
down in.
dumb. She knows
Yeah,
the motivation behind the Q vote. Like, she
yeah,
knows that it's to weaken her. So telling her or not telling her, she's gonna be just as aware of her position in the game, or or bridge being burned. Like, she's not gonna magically not vote you out, Charlie, because you let her in on the vote. Like, I think that's giving that. I don't think that's just the right mindset that Maria would be in. So I just disagree with that sort of thought process.
yeah. Let's see what people are saying about these. Okay, so there's some discussion about where the votes are going and who can claim, etc. Lots of people talking about who they want to get to the end. But we do have a tribal council here where, for the first time in a while, it wasn't necessarily chaotic and and crazy. It was
Mhm.
pretty cut and dry as to what the edit showed us.
Yeah,
For the most part,
but you
the
know
only
what's
thing.
crazy? What is crazy? Oh, actually, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the only thing that sort of was crazy and weird is that Q had an idol and didn't play it.
Well, and what was also crazy was how they edited tribal council. They showed us every vote
Yeah,
before Jeff read them. That's
yeah,
crazy.
that was
They
interesting.
won't.
Why do you think that was?
I think maybe it was
Because it was just,
to build, maybe also to, first of all, I think
Q's
we
going to
all,
play his idol.
yeah, will he, won't he? Like, he's about to
Right.
go home if he doesn't play it. Will he or won't he? I think with the, like,
Almost
Tiffany or Venus vote, there
a
was
fake
more up in
spoiler.
the air. What's up?
It's almost like a fake spoiler. Like, we're showing you
Yeah.
this, clearly Q's going home. He must be playing the idol, otherwise we wouldn't show you this. And then
Reverse
it's
psychology.
through.
Yeah,
Like,
reverse psychology. Yeah, yeah. As Gabe says here, at the only time they ever did that was with Eric Reichenbach. Um, so it's very interesting that they brought this back here, when they've only done it once before. I thought it was pretty.
Eric, when he gave up his.
Yeah, when he gave up the immunity at Final Five. Yeah, and it was just everybody being like, "You're so stupid, Eric." Yeah.
Right. What the goes down in Survivor history as like the dumbest play ever. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that they, like, the only time they ever did that was like with the dumbest move in history probably, and they brought it back here.
so there's been some discussion about who gets credit for the votes. Is it the person who came up with the idea in their head, or they think they came up with the idea, or the people that sort of did the work to kind of get it across the line?
Mm,
And Kiwi Skirt says, I believe that people that are talking to everyone and getting the votes aligned deserve the move to me, not those who thought of it, then sat back and did nothing but write the vote down. So
mhm,
that's what I was saying in previous episodes with Liz trying to claim all the moves because she sort of mentioned it once. She thinks it's hers, whereas Tevin, this was a long time ago, where Tevin was the one doing the socializing, making it happen, and all that behind the scenes. Whereas Liz says, "Well, I said it, so it's my move." Look, I want to say in regards to that Kiwi Skirt, I've been involved in a lot of volunteer sort of sports. I used to be really heavily involved in roller derby. Um, and I always call myself an ideas man. I'm not the execution. I'll be like, come up with we should do this and we should do that. This is going to be huge. We can do this and that, and come up with all the ideas. And then I go make it happen. So maybe like I get the motivation. He's YouTube Aircare saying we really don't see all the work that happened.
I mean, yeah, that's
well, we're seeing
true.
Charlie, right? Like I said, it's almost the
Well, we
opposite.
saw Maria as well.
Yeah. Well, Kahuna roller derby. Wow. Yeah. I was yes, I am the Liz. I'm the Liz of it. Yeah, this is the one. Taking out Soda was Tevin's move, not Liz's, despite Liz wanting it to happen from the start. She said, like, you know.
Yeah, it's like yeah, because they had a conversation about it. Like she's like a part of that too.
Yeah, well, she said I wanted her gone from the get go. Well, like, you didn't do anything to make it happen, or we didn't see anything of it at all. You just said, yeah, when Tevin came to you, she's like, yeah, I've said that from the start. So I guess the behind the scenes stuff is not in the edit, but I feel like, or maybe I guess it could be Survivor edits the winners in a favorable way, right? And the people that aren't going to win necessarily don't get the full gamut of what they've done out there. So maybe there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't sort of see Liz doing out there, and why she claimed it so hard is because she was trying, and we just didn't see it because it's not going to matter in the end. Maybe I don't know, but you know.
Well, does Kenzie get credit for the Tiffany vote? I mean, she brought that up, didn't she?
Yeah, she gets the opposite because she got blindsided by it. Like, it was her idea initially, but when it actually came off, she wasn't involved at all.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my point of like, yeah, you know, there's more to it than that.
Kahuna, did you play roller derby? My boss joined the team. It about killed her. She still has to have therapy on her back from it 15 years ago. No, I didn't play. I'm a roller derby announcer. Like, I actually started podcasting for roller derby in 2011, like when podcasting was barely even a thing. I was podcasting about roller derby, announcer, vice president of a league. I created a whole tournament. Like, I was very into it for a long time. And the only reason why I'm not now, actually, I'm still technically on the exec board of the tournament. It's a yearly tournament in Australia called 5x5. I'm still on the executive board as more of a consultant, legacy consultant, because I created it and I started it and all that. I never played. My brother played for Australia. He got to Australia level. My wife was what they call fresh meat, or training to play, but never actually played in a game. But I was announcer, podcaster. I ran a roller skate shop for a while, like an actual retail shop. So I was
I'm learning so much about you right now
without ever playing, without ever strapping skates on, because my ankles would just go. I would snap if I ever tried to play. But no, I was very heavily involved for a long time, and it's a brutal sport. It's dangerous, but I do love it. But we're of course there's a link somewhere. I feel like there's been a roller derby player on Survivor for sure in the past.
Is there? I feel like that's
Kenzie looks like a roller derby player. I don't know if that works. I feel like she would have been involved at some point in roller derby on some level. But yeah, we tribal council Q doesn't play his idol 4 in a row. That's never happened, right? And I don't think it will ever happen again. 4 in a row is crazy. What are the odds on that?
What's that?
What would be the odds on 4 in a row going home with the idol? That Vegas would put that at 1,000,000 to 1 or something, man. That is insane.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, yeah, like I was saying before, there's no guarantee anyone even finds the idol. There's no guarantee that at every tribal 4 times in a row that somebody has an idol. We've had many times where they go to tribal and no one has an idol. So for that to even happen is not guaranteed. For them not to play,
and surely
especially when Venus and Q, well, mostly Venus, nobody even knew she had it. with Tiff and
Yeah.
Hunter, they were being voted for because they had the idol, like in
Mm.
sort of a, you know, reverse psychology sort of way, you know. Yeah.
Well,
It would
like
be it's incredibly unlikely.
it makes even less sense the the more times it happens. Like Hunter goes home with it, and then Tiff goes, man, Tiff should have been going. Hunter went home with an idol. I don't want to like. And then Venus is like, we just saw two people go home with an idol in their pocket. Maybe I
Yeah.
should play it.
No, yeah,
Like,
That's what makes, you know, Venus is bad too. You know, she saw two people in a row get voted out. She was
yeah,
aware that they had idols. She was aware that these people are capable of lying to you about you being voted out when you have an idol. Like that doesn't scare them, you know. So it's yeah, crazy.
oh, there's confirmation. Georgette said Survivor UK had a roller derby person. Of course, there's got to be someone there. But Dolores said, please let there be another idol found and played. I think I would yell, yes, finally. I'm the only one that played it correctly. But the thing is, no one knows about Venus's one, right? And no one but Maria knows about Q's one anyway. So it's not like
Yeah, I
they've all
wonder if
got that in
she'll
the back
tell
of their
them.
head.
She probably won't. Well, maybe she will. I don't know. I'd be curious to see if Maria tells them, yeah, Q had an idol as he was going out. I don't know.
I don't know if she would, because that would make them like feel even better about their move. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but you know, like,
no, but as far as final tribal goes, any of these people with that information to be able to use on their resume when they're all talking about
yeah,
resume, if they don't know that Q has an idol,
yeah.
then at this point, yeah.
But then if you learn about it later, then you can't really claim that as like something extra.
No, you can't. But that's what I'm saying. Maria doesn't need to give it to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
That's
like
fair.
even for the jury, like Q will. I mean, Q's going to tell the tell the jury about it for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, like for them to be able to craft it or at least use it in some. Charlie, surely, I think, as a Harvard lawyer, another secret lawyer, by the way. Any information that you give this man, like I think he can spin it into some sort of beautiful Taylor Swift lyric in his final tribal speech.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to have him with that knowledge of we got Q out and he had an idol at the time. You know what I mean? Like I know he can't necessarily claim it because the jury would go, well, you didn't know about it,
Mhm.
but it's still just another piece of information that you like. Why even give it to them? Like, what is it? What benefit to Maria to tell them about it?
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So we end up with Q going home. One of the biggest characters for a long time, potentially ever. Like, I feel like this man is just gold on TV. As annoying as he was for the people out there and as disliked as he was out there, I wasn't necessarily buying it at the start. I know Chris has been all in from the get-go on the Q train. I was like, I didn't respect the game. I don't think he's necessarily a good Survivor player, but he's a hell of a Survivor character. What do you think Q's legacy is here?
Q's legacy is going to be just the sheer craziness of his presence. I mean, maybe his legacy will be sort of the devolution of him. You know, he was a very strong player at the beginning. I mean, you know, he looked so normal compared to Banu for 4 episodes, you know, and he was like, you know, showing Banu how to play the game. And it's like, oh, this guy gets it, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and he
But
comes,
he was showing him 101, right? Fundamentals.
yeah,
He's
fundamentals.
saying, don't say everything that's on your brain.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's not deep Survivor
No,
knowledge.
but also, you know, he was able to form a solid alliance with Tiffany and Kenzie, and then was able
And then turn on it.
and then turn on it. But just bear with me; that's part of it, part of the journey, you know. And he was able to just go on a journey and like just demand the two people tell him they're number ones, and they do it, and he's like, okay, so we're in an alliance now, and they're like, okay. let's do it. And they
Yeah,
were.
but it was
And it
also
was a
the
real thing.
most
And Maria
fragile
was
alliance
like,
ever.
yeah, but it was a thing. Like it was a thing, you know. And Maria clearly was like, yeah, I like this, you know, and that sort of contributed to Maria being kind of close to Q later on, you know. But then he does his crazy thing at the Tevin vote. I mean, and just like he becomes a pariah, but then Maria like brings him in. Like it's just an interesting story with Q on this season.
Arguably, I think once he was that pariah, once he sort of, what was it, his third quit? Was it his third attempted quit of the
Yeah.
season? I don't know. After that, when he was just completely persona non grata with everyone, playing from that lowly position, I think he pulled his head in a bit and played a bit smarter, was a little bit more quiet, hooked in with
Mhm.
Maria, didn't try to dominate Maria and say where the votes were going to go at all. He sort of took his smack in the head and was like, okay,
And
I
the
better
only
be.
time and the only time that he sort of did do that was this vote with Charlie, and she actually followed along with it. He was like, I think that Maria was initially like, maybe we should just stick with Liz, you know. But Charlie or Venus, I'm mixing up everybody's name. Q said to Maria, I think it should be Charlie. And then Maria thought about it and was like, yeah, he's right. It does need to be Charlie. And
Well,
so,
safe votes are not the best vote, man.
yeah.
That's is that a saying in Survivor? Because Q was like, the safe vote's not the best vote, and Marie was like, yeah, safe vote's not the best vote, and said it like it was some common
Like it's a real thing. Yeah.
Survivor phrase.
I don't know.
Have you heard that before? She's like, yeah, you're right.
And I've heard that like sentiment before, but not like as a phrase, like a catchphrase or something.
So Q's coming back though, right? He's a guaranteed return player. He's 50's
Guaranteed.
return season. Q will be on 50.
He's on Survivor 50. Let's be real with ourselves. He's on Survivor 50.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a very specific theme of like old school players or something, which it's not going to be. Then he's on it. Or he's at the very least being invited, and I would be shocked if he declined.
No, he's definitely coming back.
He wants to.
Yeah. Someone said here, where is it? Yeah, YouTube Bearcat confirmed Q will be back on Survivor. But I'm sorry, someone did say, and I said I'll come back to that one. But you guys are so awesome in the chat. But someone basically said, Q's already campaigning for 50. Like on I don't know if that's on social
Like
media or
he's
whatever.
running for election or
Yeah,
something.
he's trying hard. So we have a final five now. Q goes out, idle in his pocket, the fourth in a row. Insane that that's even a thing. But we have Maria, Charlie, Kenzie, Liz, and Ben. An interesting final five, especially considering like when it was at 6 to get down to the 6 with what I consider Maria, Charlie, and Kenzie being competent players, and then Liz, Ben, and Q being complete sort of goats dragged along.
Mhm.
It was interesting that and it makes sense. I'm glad that the goats are now outnumbered. That Maria, Charlie, and Kenzie seem like they're good players. Kenzie not really on the same level as Maria and Charlie to
So at
me.
least one of them is making the final three.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't end up with what people were the last few episodes, Jake, we've been sort of laughing at the potential that there could be Liz, Ben, and Q final three.
Okay, I'm sorry. I would be so happy if that happened. Like I really would, because it's like, when has that ever happened? Like that type of final three, like Gabon, probably. Like that's
Bob. Bob was. I
Bob.
love Bob.
No. But like Bob, let's be real. He wasn't the greatest player. You know,
Yeah.
like I think he's pretty comparable to like Ben. You know,
Mm.
I think that's just my take.
No, but he was better in like challenges. He felt a little bit
Yeah,
more like
that's
the
true.
big thing
But
for me with Ben this episode. I don't know if you noticed. I mean, we're in episode 12 now, and for some reason, it's the first time he had it looked like he was wearing my shorts when he did the immunity challenge. Did you notice his swim shorts?
Hmm.
Man, they're the biggest trunks like I've ever seen. They look like they were my like they fit me, and he had to like tie it extra tight. I was like, what?
He must just have
It was
lost that much
crazy.
weight, like, out there. I mean, that's
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll be honest. Like before,
you too, yeah, kept Ben.
no, that's it's true. I mean, if you go back and watch the first couple episodes, Ben is on the show. Like he's mentioned. Like there was that whole
Yeah,
like
he.
sort of. It was like it was either going to be him or Jem, and everyone was like, "Oh, Ben, he's the most likable person I've ever met. Like if this guy gets to the end, he will win." You know, and then it's just like, yeah, he just disappeared. I mean,
I
it
mean,
could
he's been
be.
on it. It's just never in a good way. It's never in a good light. His
I feel
stuff
like
is.
though. I
I
feel
voted
like
for the
though
wrong
before,
person. I have
yeah.
night terrors. I need comforting.
But I'll actually push back on that slightly. Before the accidental Kenzie vote, he every confessional he had was basically like, "Yeah, I'm voting out Hunter because he's a good player and he should go. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
voting out Tiffany because she has an idol and I think that's dangerous. She should go. Okay, now I'm voting out, like it just like just giving like very plain, like well thought out, like he understands the dynamic. Like he understands he has a good reasoning to be voting for these people, but it's just like very surface level, like, okay, like,
mm,
okay. But now it's like, yeah, like his head is not fully there. He's not like fully mentally there. He's starving and he's having night terrors and he's
yeah.
voting
He's
for the wrong person. Like, yeah, it's
well.
it's
Before that, though, all we got from Ben was Metallica quotes and everything shreds or rocks or like
yeah,
that does not rock, that does
yeah,
rock, and that was pretty much the extent of his analysis on things.
yeah,
So he's kind of had that. At the start, I certainly didn't respect any gameplay from Ben, and I think that's been his thing. Like, and it's only solidified the last couple episodes, and it might be driven by starvation and
yeah,
brutal conditions, but yeah. Um,
yeah. And then
Huey
Liz,
shouted out that she noticed his shorts too. She noticed. I first looked at them because they're green because he was on Sega, which they theme their clothing and stuff. But his shorts were like bandana print, and I was like, the whole short was like bandana, and I was like, I like that. I like the bandana paisley look or whatever. And then I was like, hang on a sec. They're like hammer pants. They're gigantic. Why is he wearing the world's biggest shorts? Like it was
like
crazy.
MC Hammer.
Yeah. Again, before you were born.
No, but I know what those look like. I've seen.
MC Hammer, by the way, was my first ever concert that I went to when I was 11.
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah.
In
um
Australia, or did you go to the
no,
States?
in Australia. In Australia. For like a 12-month period, he was the biggest act on the planet. He was huge. Like he was massive, massive,
Yeah,
massive thing, yeah. And
yeah,
then he threw it all away. Um, so yeah, one thing I noticed as well, and this is now we're going on random tangents. Jeff being like sassy Jeff this season and throwing some weird stuff out there with the popcorn and the Twizzlers and bringing cushions. This week he said something which struck me because I was like, "Oh, me too," but I don't know if people will find it completely weird or not.
the police
But to
interrogation.
drop, yeah, like for him to say that out loud, like I was like, keep that. I keep that to myself that I watch police
Yeah,
interrogation
yeah,
videos, or I watch. There's a YouTube channel that does police interrogation video analysis. Like it's this very stern voiceover, and it says, "Here, the officer is using a technique to get like," and will actually break down what's happening in the
I've
in the
seen those
video.
ones.
So you,
Yeah,
like, I find that stuff interesting, and like
yeah.
you see idiot criminals that don't know what they're doing. Then you see complete psychopaths that like play the officers and stuff like that. I find that interesting. But for Jeff to say it and keep it in the edit, like that was that was interesting. Are you a police interrogation video kind of guy?
I wouldn't say that it's like my passion, but I've definitely gotten some enjoyment out of watching a couple here and there. They've popped up on my YouTube recommended
Yeah.
page, and I've been like, okay, sure. They're like 45 minutes long. Sometimes they can be really long, but I've sat through a couple, and I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
that was good. But yeah, it was jarring to hear Jeff say that. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't even remember the context of why he said
Me
that.
neither now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I guess I could see him saying it because he wants to, like, I can see him wanting to watch them because, yeah, it's interesting, but also so he can get information out of people at tribal councils. Like, for a long time, people were, and still are to a certain extent, pretty cagey with their answers to Jeff, not wanting to give away too much to the people sitting next to them. And they'll be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, Jeff, we're all getting along together, great," and kind of keep it nice and low key. So he wants to get it out of them. But I just found that fascinating and weird that they would drop that and also leave it in the edit. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not
Definitely.
sure why, but yeah. Um, Daryl says that he's watched them as well. I've watched police interrogation videos.
Mhm.
So yeah. Oh, I want to shout out to Danica. My first big concert was Huey Lewis and the News, but the last concert I've seen was the Wiggles. I should say the original Wiggles. We've seen them 4 times. You love
Wow.
your Aussies, Danica. I mean, they're probably honestly like, I know people don't see it that way, but the Wiggles are probably Australia's biggest like musical act ever. Like,
Yeah.
they're gigantic.
I'm a big Tame Impala guy,
Okay.
and I saw that he did I don't know if it was a whole concert or just one act with the Wiggles, and I was like, that's so interesting that
Yeah.
he did that because like they're not very similar, but
Yeah. I think, do they have kids?
I don't know.
Because that's usually the thing. Like,
Yeah,
that's why like so many people used to go on Yo Gabba Gabba. Like, you'd get Jack Black on Yo Gabba Gabba and stuff like that
yeah,
because they just want to be on something that their kids will watch, kind of thing. So
yeah,
there might be something like that. Oh, here was some news during the week. YouTube Bearcat says
yeah.
Survivor Oz versus Survivor USA. They're working on it. It would be a special season in addition to the regular Survivor seasons. Have you seen this?
But I don't think it's coming out till next year, right?
Won't be till next year. It'll be filming in September.
Yeah,
This
that's
year,
gonna be
and
wild. I'm gonna
yeah,
be
we're gonna
so
do a. I know Chris said we. It might even be this week. We might do a special podcast. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to line up time wise with the USA that well. We might do it on our Thursday night, which is like when Thursday morning for you guys, or like early Thursday morning or something like that. So we will be covering it. If you can't join the live, definitely watch the video. But we're going to talk about all of it. Um, I don't know if it's ever been said on a podcast, but we've talked, like, obviously the global championship and all that has been a salivating dream for Survivor fans for a while now, especially with the quality of Australian Survivor in recent seasons. And Gabe, what's the time on that, mate? Clocking in when we brought up the comparison between.
one
There you
hour
go.
28 minutes.
Yeah. You can wait that long. Look, I didn't bring it up this time. It was
Yeah,
YouTube
you were just
Bearcat
responding to a
comment.
comment. You were just responding to a comment. It's
Yeah,
it,
I'm being a good host, Gabe.
but yeah,
But we will be talking about it at some point,
are you gonna like
hopefully this week.
speculate on who's gonna be on who's gonna be on
Yeah,
the
and what it
cast?
might look like, all that sort of thing. I've been saying, I don't know if I've ever said it actually on a podcast, but I've said for a while now, and I know I've said it to Chris and Mucky, etc., that I've put it on Facebook. I've put it out there in some Survivor groups that if it was ever going to happen, it would 1000% be on Australian Survivor because
Yeah,
Jeff will never
of course. Yeah,
let, yeah, Jeff won't let their product look worse
yeah,
than, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So, and also I think in Australia, I don't know if you guys wouldn't be aware of this, but we have a long history as far as entertainment goes. I don't know, like we're just cucked by America so much. Like, we have US people come out, US D grade, B grade celebrities will put them on our shows just to have some sort of, I don't know, semblance of credibility. Like, we can't prop our own entertainment industry. Like when we had the Masked Singer, our version of the Masked Singer. You know who one of the first judges were on the Masked Singer?
Who?
Lindsay Lohan, who has no idea who any Australian singers are. Like Australian
Huh?
celebrity, like
Why?
C and D grade Australian celebrities are like Z tier US celebrities. But yeah, they bring on Lindsay Lohan, and she's like, I don't know, is it the Queen? Like she had no clue who anything was. We just need to
Did the
get
mask?
someone American on our show. And obviously, you've seen we had Russell and Sandra.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
Well,
kind
that
of
makes
what
more
we
sense.
all. Yeah, that's what we do. Like we just have to have some like our version of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here,
Yeah.
which we had Tom Arnold like on a season. Like we bring people from the UK, we bring people from the US. It's like we
Well,
just don't have
what's
enough.
funny is the Traders U.S. had the Speaker of the House of Commons from the UK.
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
it, that's
yeah.
pretty rad. But
We would do
what was I
that
gonna
sort of
say?
thing regularly.
Yeah.
Like, ever since as long as I can remember watching TV, like in the 80s even, we used to have a Saturday variety show at night called Hey Hey It's Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And they would do some weird like segments and stuff, but they would get a US judge on or a US person on. Like I just remember Harry Connick Jr. coming on and being like, what the fuck is going on? Like I don't understand. Like he didn't say it, but he was just so confused by whatever Australian stuff he was watching, and like we just get them on because they're a name. I don't know. Like I guess it's always funny that way.
Wonder
But yeah,
I wonder if on the next Traders they'll have how do you pronounce Albanese?
Albanese. Yeah,
Yeah. Will they
yeah.
have him on the on the next season? just
Oh, there you
just
go.
bring politicians
Even
from
Sia,
every.
the Australian, likes giving US Survivor contestants money, not her fellow country survivors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if she watches. Probably not, or else she'd be giving money to them too.
YouTube Bearcat said, does David Hasselhoff live on forever in Aussie TV? Man, do you remember David Hasselhoff had like a renaissance in the early 2000s? It was like a weird. He was a meme for a long time
He was
where
on
he,
the SpongeBob movie.
yeah, like it's so strange. And here Kiwiska is saying we have the greatest singer ever, in my opinion, Kahuna. The voice himself, John Farnham. Can't do better, in my opinion. Whispering Jack. But like, if you ever want to do like a podcast where I just educate everyone on all things Australian, I'm happy to do it because John Farnham, if you don't know John Farnham, he is an absolute legend in Australia and probably literally nowhere else. I think he's one of our greatest singers ever, beloved in Australia, and no one knows who he is. His biggest thing outside of Australia, I think, was that there was a scene in the movie Hot Rod with Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island
Hmm.
where they basically do a musical number, which is his biggest song. John Farnham, You're the Voice. It's so good. If everyone wants to see an awesome song, look up You're the Voice. But I am waffling. We're talking a lot. We've gone over an hour and a half, but there's obviously always a lot to discuss about Survivor and other topics like roller derby and Australian entertainment and stuff. But that is going to bring us to the end of this episode. It is the penultimate episode. We're going to do obviously the final episode breakdown next week. Chris will be back for that undoubtedly. So I don't know where does Chris have the. I want to run that subscribe thing. See, Chris is really good at like doing this, but I'm not. So I'll just point down the bottom anyway. Like and subscribe. Do all that sort of thing. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Once again, you guys make it awesome. Fueling the conversation, talking with each other, giving us everything to go off of. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week with the final episode. And then there's going to be something else happening on this channel as well, which is really, really fascinating. Drew, not from the challenge Drew, but from Survivor Buffs. I think it was Survivor Buffs, Chris's former channel. He's going to be doing something on this channel pretty much after Survivor 46 ends, where he's going to be going through 46 seasons in 46 days. He's committed this is mental to me. I have no idea why anyone would do this. He's committed to watching, rewatching, and then recapping live one season every day for
I
46
couldn't
days.
do it. I couldn't do it. I think I would hate Survivor if I after doing that.
Apparently, he did it a few years ago for 42, I think, and he said, "I want to do it again." Chris has said, "Okay, 46 seasons in 46 days," which is crazy. Some of us, Chris, myself, we'll be jumping on certain seasons just to help with the recaps, like every now and then. He's going to be doing collaborations with other channels as well, YouTube channels that are going to be on it. So after this week, we finish Survivor 46. Look out on the Nullified Take for 46 seasons in 46 days, which is just mental. We'll be doing cameos here and there. We'll be popping in for a couple seasons maybe from the Nullified Take universe, but Drew will be driving that, and that's crazy. You get to 46 days, 46 seasons in 46 days. YouTube versions of summary. Yeah, like he's going to be doing a live podcast every day about it. I know when he did it previously, some of them were like 20 minutes, some of them were a good hour. I think it's going to depend if he has a guest and can actually talk to someone about it versus just sort of rambling on his own. But look out for that. We've got Survivor coming up this week. Challenge is still ongoing. We're going to do the podcast at some point very soon about discussing AU versus Australia. But for now, we're going to leave it there. Jake, thank you, sir. Again, congratulations, man. Everything's coming up, Jake, at the moment. That was huge news on all fronts. Hawaii graduating and getting engaged. What a week for Jake. I think now, knowing the context of what's been going on, I'm totally fine with you missing a few weeks. I was like getting in Chris's ear. I'm like, man, you gotta cut this, Jake, dude. Like he's, I question his spark emotion. Like, for sure.
I know. I was worried I was going to get fired. I was worried I was going to have the talk with Chris. He was going to give me a call and say he was letting me go, but yeah.
I mean, Chris is like a manager, sales manager. You got to always be closing, getting the results. So maybe you would have had like, you know, if you got called into his office, invite him, but no, you were all good, obviously. And obviously people were, oh, here we go. Here's a question. Just quickly.
Yeah.
30-second version. Predictions for final. Finale.
Okay, so I think Maria gets 5th place. Then I think Liz gets voted out in fire because we never talked about this, but apparently there's been like a lot of foreshadowing, like a lot of fire talk with Liz. Like they
been shown in the glasses.
Yes, like Carson. Yeah, the same thing. And Carson went on fire. So I'm just going to hitch my ride on that's happening. And then I think Kenzie, Charlie, Ben, final 3. I think Kenzie wins.
Kenzie wins against Charlie.
I think it's close. I think either one of Kenzie or Charlie could win that and would deserve it, in my opinion. But I'm just going to go with Kenzie. That's just my gut feeling.
Liz, no shot. Ben, no shot.
No shot.
Yeah, I think it's a 2-horse race at this point. If Maria's at the end and people can overlook the emotions and actually vote for gameplay, which everyone's been saying she's super dangerous, she's the biggest threat, then sure. You two back again, Ben. I love ongoing bits. Recurring bits are the best. So I pretty much agree with you. I think they have to get Maria out next week, and that's already been planted with this, unless she wins. She has to win out.
I think that, you know, Kenzie and Charlie have both won immunities before. Like they're no slouches. You know, if Maria was up against a weaker slate of challengers, then I would be like, you know, betting on her to just sweep her way. But I think that she could very easily just lose one of them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if Hunter didn't win out, then Maria's not guaranteed to do that either.
Right.
But she's certainly in with a shot. And if she gets to the final and is not against Charlie as well, like I still think she dominates Charlie because that's how the rest of the tribe sees her.
Yeah, that's fair.
Her best shot is to not have Charlie there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I thought of. when we were talking today, and I was looking for a spot to bring it up. What do you think of this? Right, Maria winning immunity this episode was
Mhm.
potentially a blessing in disguise for Charlie, because with Q going home, Q was seen as a guarantee to sit at the end from a, well, I mean, he should have been seen. I don't know why they wanted him out so badly, because really he's not going to win. No one's going to vote for him. So Maria saw it. Maria wants to take him to the end. But with Q voted out now, Charlie still has Maria as the bigger threat in front of him. If Maria went out this episode, does Charlie go up the pecking order in the eyes of the other tribe members, as we have to get Charlie out now and keep Q around, and then we end up with the Q, Liz, and Ben finale potentially, you know?
Oh my
Like,
god. Yeah, no, that's a very, very good point. Got to keep a shield. It's just that's the tricky part. You got to pick precisely the right time to
when,
cut your
yeah,
cut
yeah.
your shield. Luckily for Charlie, he doesn't really. Well, maybe not so lucky. Doesn't really have a choice. He has to not vote for Maria. But that's a very good point. I didn't think about. Now he has a very clear path to Final Four at the very least. Um,
Hmm.
if Maria loses, yeah, that's a good
Yeah, if
point.
Maria had gone out this episode at 5, who becomes the obvious target?
Maybe they still vote for Q. Maybe
Out of
because
pure,
look,
like,
they voted
bitterness.
Q over Charlie this episode, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So maybe not. Maybe
But they were also calling him King Q. Like, they
yeah.
still see him as, like,
So maybe
running
if Maria
stuff.
gets cut, then it's like, oh, you're not really as powerful. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
So I don't know. But interesting episode anyway. Certainly has been much better second half of the season. It's just a shame that we had to have the first half of the season. We're in the post Banu era, which is always much better. But we're gonna catch you all next week. Obviously, again, we got challenge coming up. We got Australian Survivor versus US Survivor, something coming up this week, and then there's going to be 46 days, 46 seasons in 46 days. A lot coming up for the Nullified Take. Thank you, chat, everyone again. Thank you, Jake. But for now, grab your torches, head on back to camp, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.